We are ready to take a look at the stacked heel block. Now in doing this, we need to know a few things. We need to know our scale length, which for this guitar is 25.4 inches. And we need to know the location of the nut, which we have right here, and the distance between the front side of this nut and the 14th fret, because we are going 14 frets to the body, 357.77 millimeters. Okay, measuring from the front side of the nut, 357.7. I'm going to make it 358. I think that's safe enough. I'm going to mark this across. All right, so that should be our 14th fret. Now we do need some material in front of this for the mortise that is going to come off of here. For that, we are going to need 3/4 to 7/8 of an inch in front of this 14th fret. I give an inch just to make sure we've got plenty there. And in leaving that inch, we still have like 12.5 inches to the end, which is just fine. I really only need about 12. So I'm going to actually give myself a little more grace here and only cut off 12 from the end, making myself a little note to keep this. Don't cut that off. This is going to get cut off. Now here we have our 12 inches that we're going to cut off the end. We're going to take this, make 3 pieces, and then they are going to get glued to the bottom of this. My first one is going to be 5 inches. And the second one is going to be 4 inches. And then we are left with about 3 inches. So that's perfect. So this piece will get glued up here, the 4 inches gets glued up under that, and 3 under that. And that will leave us plenty of room to kind of radius into our heel block off of the neck. I'm just going to mark my lines on this so I can see them a little bit better. Carry these around. I've got to carry these marks around from the front over here to the back because the peg head is not going to allow us to set the table saw like this. We're going to have to set the neck on the table saw like this. So I need those marks on the back.
One of the biggest things to keep in mind with the stacked heel block is grain direction. If we keep the orientation of the grain the same and stack them just as they came off the neck, we stand a much better chance of minimizing the joint lines and grain reflection that we see in the heel. To do that, make sure that you give yourself notes or arrows or whatever method works best for you to make sure that you keep all of them oriented correctly as we cut them off of the neck blank so that we don't get them mixed up when it comes time to glue them up. Now, I know that I said earlier that I was going to use a table saw on this, and that was my plan. But number one, it's another camera setup for me, and 2, it's another tool setup. So why make more work for yourself? I'm just going to use a Dozuki saw here, but really any hand saw is perfect for this operation. It's easy to fall into the habit of going to the power tools for everything, but a lot of times hand tools are just as easy and just as fast. Now here, each of these cuts takes less than 30 seconds each, so let's just keep it simple and do things by hand. Alright, now that our cuts are done, all we need to do is keep our arrows aligned correctly. Get these stacked up. I like the way that looks, so let's glue this thing up. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is lay some paper down on my bench so that I don't glue the neck to it. Get these blocks lined up. Grab the big bottle of glue. And I'm going to apply a bit of glue to the other surface as well, just to make sure that it mates well and both sides are wet. We'll get that stacked. Make sure the second one gets glued up. Again, a little bit of glue on that second surface. Get that spread around. Get the arrows aligned. And finally, the third small block for that stack.
And the glue that I'm putting on the second surface here is, I just want to wet the surface of it, just moisten it up a little bit. I'm not looking for a lot of glue on both surfaces. I'm just trying to make absolutely sure that I've got adhesion all the way across. My arrow is helping me out there, almost messed that up. Okay, now let's try and get some clamps on this.
I usually start the heel block clamping process with a quick clamp. Apply a little bit of pressure, press everything into place so that when the C-clamps go on, they don't skate quite as much.
When there's a stack like this, they almost act like magnets with the same polarization that don't want to stick together. They just slip and slide everywhere. And don't crank them down so far that you can't move them, because we want to adjust them a little bit, and then we want to just kind of creep up onto that final tension, because they're going to keep moving. And I put a clamp along each one of these steps. And as I go down, I keep pressing it into place just a little bit. This looks good. I think it's stopped skating. So I'm going to flip it. Now this block I'm going to leave at least for 2 or 3 hours, and even overnight is just fine. There's a lot of structure here, and there's a lot of glue surface that needs to thoroughly dry before I really get after it and start taking any of this off or making changes to the rest of the neck. I also want to allow enough time for the moisture that's been introduced into this block to evaporate if at all possible. So an overnight dry time is not out of the question with this one. So I'll leave this here and we'll pick back up when these come out of the clamps. Now the last thing we really need to do about this stacked heel block is take the clamps off. And that is our stacked heel block. We'll get to cleaning this up later when I do the laminated neck. So for right now, this is really all we need to do about the stacked heel block. We'll clean up the front of this a little later when we figure out our exact scale length and chop this so we can get the mortise. And we will clean up the sides when we do the laminated neck, if you want to do the laminated neck. And this gets taken care of when we start shaping the neck. So that's all we need to do about this. We will see you in the next video and pick up on laminating the neck.